Good Wednesday evening and welcome back to From the Tomb with Cadoom. I am your host, Cadoom. Today, we have a special one for you. Today, we were trying to upload the finale to the Triangle file. Today, we were trying to upload the Cadoomed Triangle. My own triangle. This was supposed to be the final descent. The Michigan file. The episode where the Triangle files come home. But something happened. The footage corrupted. The audio fractured. The timeline started folding in on itself. And the closer I get to the finale, the more other files start forcing their way through. Cases I wasn't planning to include. Stories sitting just outside the main pattern. Warnings, folklore, lights in the woods, creatures in the trees, omens in the city, ships on the water. Maybe they're just leftover fragments. Maybe they're distractions. Or maybe, before we open the final file, the tomb wants us to look at what's been hiding around it. So tonight is not the finale. Tonight is the interference before the finale. This is not a delay. This is a static before the signal. If this episode looks broken, good. That means it uploaded exactly how I found it. Michigan has always had something watching from the trees. Not just bears. Not just wolves. Not just shadows your headlights catch for half a second before your brain has time to explain it away. I'm talking about the Michigan Dogman, a creature usually described as part man, part canine, walking upright, appearing in rural areas, back roads, forests, and places where the map starts to feel less useful than instinct. The modern Dogman legend exploded in 1987 after radio DJ Steve Cook recorded a song called The Legend for WTCM-FM in Traverse City. It was originally made as an April Fool's joke, but after it aired, listeners began calling in with their own alleged encounters. The joke turned into folklore. The folklore turned into a Michigan monster. And that's where this gets interesting. Because sometimes folklore doesn't start because everyone believes the same thing. Sometimes folklore starts because too many people recognize the same fear. A shape at the edge of the woods. A sound too heavy to be a dog. Eyes reflecting back from the tree line. Something standing where an animal should be crouched. Now, am I saying the Dogman is real? No. I'm saying Michigan has created a space where the Dogman could become real to people. And sometimes that matters more. Because whether it's a creature, misidentified animal, hoax, campfire story, or something even deeper, the Dogman became part of Michigan's emotional geography. The places between towns, the roads with no streetlights, the hunting trails, the cabins, the areas where the modern world thins out and the old fears come back. And listen, that's what the Triangle Files have always been about. Not just proving something happened, but asking why certain places collect stories. Why certain regions seem to attract disappearances, sightings, violence, legends, and fear. The Dogman may not belong in the finale, but it belongs in the atmosphere around it. Before we talk about Michigan as a pattern, we have to understand Michigan as a feeling. And sometimes that feeling has teeth. The first file came from the woods. The second comes from the road. A light in the distance, a glow that waits for you to notice it. And once you do, you start asking the same question everyone else asks. What is that? In Michigan's Upper Peninsula, near Paulding, there's a famous light. People have gathered for years to see it. A strange glow appearing in the distance, sometimes white, sometimes red, sometimes moving or fading. The Paulding Light became one of those perfect local mysteries. Simple enough to explain, yet strange enough to keep watching. And that is a dangerous combination. Because when a mystery is too complicated, people ignore it. But when it's just a light in the dark, everyone thinks they can solve it. Over time, the Paulding Light picked up stories. Some said it was a ghostly railroad brakeman. Some said it was a lantern. Some a spirit searching the tracks. Others say it was headlights from a distant highway, distorted by terrain and atmosphere. Investigations support the headlight explanation, but the legend remains because people still go there. They still watch. And they still feel something when that light appears. And that is the part I care about. Because a light doesn't have to be supernatural to become powerful. A light in the dark is one of the oldest symbols humans have. Safety, warning, a signal, a trap, a way home, or just proof that someone else is out there. So when people stand on a dark road in the Upper Peninsula waiting for the Paulding Light, they're not just watching headlights. They're participating in a ritual. They are doing what humans have always done. Gathering in the dark, staring into the unknown, hoping the unknown stares back. And maybe that's why this file forced its way into the transmission. Because the finale is about patterns. But before the pattern can become visible, you need the signal. The Paulding Light might be explainable, but explainable doesn't mean meaningless. Sometimes the explanation tells you what happened. The legend tells you why people needed it to be more. And if Michigan has a signal, then Detroit has an omen. Every city has ghosts, but Detroit has something different. Detroit has the Nain Rouge, the Red Dwarf, the Scarlet Figure, the Omen. The thing people say appears before disaster. The legend of the Nain Rouge reaches back into Detroit folklore and early French colonial storytelling. In modern Detroit culture, the Nain Rouge is often described as a small, red creature or imp connected to misfortune, disaster, and warning. And that's what makes this one different from the Dogman. The Dogman belongs to the woods. The Nain Rouge belongs to the city. One hides between trees. The other appears in the heart of civilization. One makes you afraid of what's outside the cabin. The other makes you afraid of what's inside the walls. And whether you believe in the creature or not, the Nain Rouge becomes something bigger than a monster. It became a symbol, a way for a city to talk about disaster, a way for people to give shape to collapse, fire, violence, hardship, and survival. Detroit doesn't just have history, Detroit has scars. And sometimes folklore grows directly out of those scars. That's why this isn't a goofy monster story. The Nain Rouge isn't just little red demon that shows up and bad things happen. That's too simple. The true version is deeper. When a place has suffered enough, people start creating symbols that can hold the weight of that suffering. The Nain Rouge became the warning before the wound, the face before the fire, the shadow before the headline. And Detroit eventually turned that fear into culture. The Marche du Nain Rouge became an annual event where people symbolically drive the Nain away, mixing folklore, performance, history, and civic identity. That matters, because that is transformation. That is exactly what Cadoomed is built on. Taking the thing that haunts you, dragging it into the street, naming it, mocking it, marching against it, and refusing to let it own you. Maybe that's why this file came through before we enter the finale. Because the tomb wanted one thing made clear. Michigan is not just haunted by darkness. Michigan also has a history of turning darkness into identity. And that, well, that is Cadoomed. So now we've had the road, we've had the woods, and we've had the city. But Michigan is surrounded by something older than all of them. Water. Deep water. Cold water. The kind that keeps secrets. And sometimes gives them back. The Great Lakes are not lakes in the way most people imagine lakes. They are inland seas. They have swallowed ships, families, cargo, crews, entire stories. The Great Lakes are estimated to contain thousands of shipwrecks, and Lake Michigan alone has carried generations of maritime tragedy, mystery, and legend. One recent example is that of the F.J. King, a three-masted wooden schooner that sank in Lake Michigan in 1886 while carrying iron ore from Escanaba to Chicago. Its crew survived, but the wreck itself remained lost for nearly 140 years before researchers located it in 2025 near Bailey's Harbor, Wisconsin. Think about it. A ship can be gone for more than a century, but not forgotten. That's how ghost stories are born. Not always from spirits, sometimes from absence. From the shape left behind when something disappears. A missing ship becomes a rumor. A rumor becomes a legend. Then a legend becomes a ghost. But even when the wreck is found, the ghost doesn't always die. Because the ghost was never just the ship. It was the unanswered question. Where did it go? What happened out there? Why did the lake keep it? That's what makes the Great Lakes terrifying in themselves. They don't need monsters. The water itself is enough. Cold, huge, unforgiving, and quiet. Too quiet. Because when something disappears on land, we search the woods. When something disappears in a city, we can search records, cameras, witnesses, and streets. But when something disappears into the Great Lakes, sometimes the lake becomes the only witness. And the lake can't testify. They just preserve. They conceal. And they wait. And that brings us back to the finale again. Because the Cadoomed Triangle isn't just about one case. It's not about just one legend. It's not even just about Michigan. It's about what happens when enough stories gather in one place that the place itself feels charged, like the land remembers, like the water remembers, like every road, every tree line, every abandoned building, missing file, old headline, every family wound and urban legend becomes part of the same pressure system. And eventually, the pressure has to break. I don't know what broke this episode. Maybe nothing did. Maybe this is exactly how it was supposed to happen. Maybe before the finale could open, the tomb had to clear its throat. The Dogman showed us the woods. The Paulding Light showed us the signal. The Nain Rouge shows us the omen. And the ghost ships shows us what the water keeps. And now, all that's left is Michigan itself. The final triangle file is coming, not because the episode was delayed, because the transmission was interrupted. And whatever interrupted it left these behind. So next week, we stop circling the pattern. Next week, we open it. Because the tomb remembers. Will you? For today, that is the end. However, the finale is next week. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Wednesday. From the tomb. With Cadoom. The Triangle Files. The Cadoomed Triangle. Be sure to tune in, because it's a big episode, not just for the content. There's going to be a lot of things about Cadoomed, Cadoom, and Lucas that get revealed. So, tonight we don't close the tomb. We leave it cracked, and we let the rest flow out for next week. In the meantime, keep it twisted and escape your tomb until we bust mine all the way open next week. Have a great night.